Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Liz Cardenas, and I am a producer and director and a board member of Breaking Through the Lens, which is one of the co-hosts of this panel today. Breaking Through the Lens is a nonprofit organization that is trying to advocate for gender equality within the industry. We are supporting filmmakers, specifically directors of underrepresented gender, women, trans, non-binary, with a focus on helping it at the financial stage, because we believe that is so important and can really make a difference in the next wave of storytellers. Um, One thing that's really special too about Breaking Through the Lens is we are actual filmmakers who are doing this. And I'm going to kick it off to our co-host so she can introduce herself. And then our lovely panelists, who we are so grateful for you for coming today. And everyone will introduce themselves, their film, their production company, and so forth. We want to make this really conversational. We want to have an intimate conversation as opposed to some kind of like stuffy panel. And oh, I should have said threading the needle, film, ethics, and impact.
Hi, I'm Lauren Merage. I'm a filmmaker and the founder and executive director of Simbelle Productions. Simbelle is named after my two daughters, Simone and Lilybelle, with the idea that stories can change their future and future generations. And, uh, at Simbelle, we don't only think of ourselves as a production company, but as an ecosystem where we can support filmmakers to help develop their ideas and find filmmakers that have a similar mission to ours. I'm also very excited to introduce Karen Spruck today, who's from Planned Parenthood Federation of America. We've been very lucky to collaborate with Karen and Planned Parenthood, and we see this as an example of what we want to do with our production company in terms of bringing in organizations that are outside of the entertainment industry to broaden the conversation. And we believe that starting that relationship early on is very important, that it's not something that's we're looking for at the end of a film's life, but at its inception. So thank you, Karen, for being here.
Hello, I'm Nadia Fall, and I'm the director of Brides, which is my first feature, and it was our world premiere on Friday, I think. I've lost all concept of space and time. I apologize. You could literally ask me anything today, and I would tell you. Brides is a road movie about two teenage best friends. And it's about those heady, electric love stories we have with our best friends when we're teenagers, that deep platonic love where you would die for your best friend. Yes, and it's also about the teenage brain for me and how our brains are hardwired to make really risky decisions when we're teenagers. And we all remember those, and most of us survive them, but yeah, it can get dicey. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Ebada Hassan, and I play Doe in Brides.
My name's Jen Tiexiera. I am the director of Speak, which had its premiere on Thursday. I'm also a co-founder of a production company called Lady and Bird with my co-founder Rita Baghdadi. And our company's been very supported by this organization. So we're very happy to be here today. And yeah, look forward to the conversation.
Amazing. Well, what we're trying to talk about today is films that have sensitive subject matter, the delicate dance that you kind of have to do through all stages, from prep, from raising financing and production, and when you're releasing your film. And so I wanted to start with you, Nadia, because you know I thought what was really interesting was the approach that you were taking. And a lot of times with these types of films, it's like the approach to the filmmaking and the framing, how you present the film. And so I know that, one of your actresses this was her first feature. Um, and it's like such an important topic, but sensitive subject matter. So can you talk a little bit about your approach in terms of working with your actors and how that formed the filmmaking process?
God, there were so many obstacles, but I want to talk about the first obstacle when you're an artist, and that's your own mind. For me, I think as artists, we have to do the things that scare us the most. And what I've learned is the things I find the scariest are the closest to me, because I have to reveal a bit of myself. So I found it, and I know Sahel El Bushra, our writer, we actually we were very nervous about telling this story at first. We thought we don't want to get roped into talking about our community. I have my father in my brain going, "Oh, why are you? What are you doing? Why are you talking about this?" So yes, first thing, kill your own policeman. Obviously, we had all sorts of other challenges, like any movie, independent film, and we've got amazing producers. Nikki Bentham is my rock, quite frankly. I've been spoiled for any producer now. But so, money and time is always a challenge, of course. But yes, I think a big part of it was finding an authenticity. So the casting process with Shaheen Baig, who cast it, who's renowned for her ability to find first-time talent and cast young, street casting, I guess it's called. And we did a social media call out, and there were about 500-600 young women, mostly of Muslim heritage. And yeah, we met them and did a lot of auditions and met Ebada as part of that. And we had lots of workshop auditions as well. And I feel we were being auditioned as much as I always think auditions go both ways. And because this was about young people and young women of Muslim heritage, Sohaila and I were nervous. Like, what would the young people feel about this? Would they resonate? Would they think we got the tone and the voice and the subject right? And we were not prepared for how emotional the room was. I mean, there were tears. It was cathartic for us and them. And I felt like we've got the blessing to go on because the girls say we can. And actually lots of the conversations Sahela very, very cleverly sort of put in the script. So yes, we met Ebada through that. Literally didn't even do drama club at school, right? And then we also found Saf, who's in our front row there, who played Muna Safingar. And I probably shouldn't say, but Saf, sorry, I don't want to I'm talking too much. Saf didn't have the role at first because the young woman that did have it couldn't do it for a complex reason. So in the 11th hour, weeks before shooting, I remembered seeing Saf in a play. And I'm a theatre person, so plays. Yeah. And because Saf has some more experience, the coupling was perfect because you really supported. And I think Ebada can talk more about that.
Well, and the chemistry between the two lead actresses is just incredible. Breaking Through the Lens was so honored to support the film. We did give, Brides was our action grant winner of last year. So it's like celebratory that they were able to premiere, now this year. And from what I was understanding, part of the grant went to like rehearsals.
Absolutely. And I let Ebada talk about it, but I'm a first-time director and I'm from theatre. I couldn't imagine doing this without rehearsal. And we got rehearsal because of the grant. And it was everything to us. We got to know each other. I think it's nuts that you can turn up on set first day, having never done it before, and go, you're soulmates. Now go, action. What is that? So this was invaluable, precious rehearsal time.
That's amazing.
So thank you. Breaking Through the Lens, honestly.
Thrilled. So part of the conversation is talking about maintaining your voice, when you have this sensitive subject matter, controversial, complicated, complex. So as an actress, I look at that as being that vision is like the reason why you're wanting to do this film. And what I wanted to ask you about is, how you were able to protect yourself through the process, whether it was like, again, filming or even now that the movie's coming out and you're doing interviews and you're on a stage right now, So it's just like, how were you able to protect yourself and maintain your vision or connection to the material navigating this process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, throughout the rehearsal, that we were grateful to get because I can't imagine like never having like acted before, just showing up on a film set and just being like told to just act and like get into character like that is so unfamiliar to me. But having that rehearsal period was like time for me, Nadia, and Saf to be able to bond, talk about the story and the characters. And obviously, the topic matter is really it's tough, it's heavy, and we found ourselves having really difficult conversations and getting quite emotional a lot of the time. But being able to just have open conversations and feeling comfortable enough to have that was really nice. And yeah,
Yeah,
You
and so
built trust.
yeah,
right, I was gonna say, so it seems like you were like relying on the relationship
oh,
with your director and your co-star to help you navigate through this process.
absolutely. I
That's
mean,
amazing.
it's not a sole task at all. I mean, throughout this whole thing, I've been leaning on Saf.
Aw.
Um, like showing up on set every day and like not really know what's going on, freestyling a little bit. Of course, I like prepped as much as I could, but um, her guidance, her experience was imperative. Even coming to Sundance now, like
Right.
she was here last year with her film Layla, and like I'm here for the first time. This is my first time in the US, actually, in general. It's so funny because everyone's like, this is not actually like what the US is like. And I'm like, guys, I figured. Um, but yeah, even just being at Sundance, like she's been showing me the ropes and like where to go and what to do. And I'm like, thanks. Like, yeah. But we've just spent a lot of time together and having that bond. And yeah, Nani's pretty cool too. Like,
Well, what's great about this kind of conversation is having the various perspectives, right? So we have director, actress, we have fiction film, nonfiction film. So Jen, you have a documentary. And what I thought was really interesting about Speak is it's like there's various stories within the story. And so what I was wondering, again, going back to vision and balance, it's like, how are you balancing your vision with these multiple storylines? And then also, talking about how she's protecting herself. Your subjects are you're portraying a character. That's their real lives. And so when they're having their spoken word about their own issues, how were you able to protect your vision and protect your actual teens that were in the film?
Sure. Yeah, there's actually a lot of similarities when you're talking about building trust. I believe it's very similar in documentary, especially when you're dealing with minors. So we had a very long casting process. We raised that money. It was a 6-month casting process because we were not only casting the kids, we were casting their families, their schools, their coaches, and making a very clear partnership of what the next year would look like. Um, in original oratory, which is the category that we followed, about 400 plus kids make it to the finals. And so we had made a deal with the NSDA that we were going to start with those 400 kids and narrow it down. We narrowed it down to about 150, 60, 30, and then the 5. 5 is a lot of characters, as you mentioned, but we always wanted to make sure that any of them at any point could pull out. We knew that you can explain it to your blue in the face, but until you're actually in the field with them and we're living with them and spending the night at their houses, that, okay, now they understand what they've signed up for. I do think that trust is the most important thing. I don't like power dynamics is obviously super important. I actually made a documentary about documentaries about participants and participant advocacy called Subject. So, our company is very based in this idea of this partnership and a North Star and writing down what we both want to achieve. So my artistic vision is really our artistic vision, and that's the beauty of it. It really evolves over the time that you're shooting, all the way through release and what we expect out of the festival and who we want for a distributor. They just all left today, so a piece of my heart is gone. But yeah, it's really a joint.
I loved how you used the phrase like the North Star, because I feel like that's kind of guiding all of us, again, as filmmakers and storytellers, as people who have production companies, like what we're trying to tell. I'd like to show a clip. We'd like to go to clip one. So Lauren is also a writer director, and we'll show you a little clip of something, and then we'll reference a little conversation about that.
Where did my baby go?
I'm sorry.
I'm so glad you're here.
You know, being at Sundance and talking to filmmakers, it's the image, it's the imagery. So we wanted to.
That was the trailer, and this is just a small portion of the film to kind of help you get a little bit more of an idea.
Thank you for your patience. I know you've been anxious to receive these results, but we needed to be sure. These labs are very thorough, so when they receive a positive result, they'll run the test again to confirm it. I'm sorry, Maya, but the fetus...
So you mentioned your, collaboration with Planned Parenthood. When you have a film such as yours that involves reproductive rights, which can be polarizing, it can be politicized when it shouldn't be. When this is a story, how do you get past that to show for audiences to see the story versus making it something that's political?
So I actually wrote this film before the Dobbs decision. My husband and I experienced a loss, so I went through an abortion due to medical reasons, and I had written the script, but was working on some other scripts. And when the Dobbs decision happened, I put everything else away and pushed this to the forefront. And while I wrote it as a film that I believed women and men who had been in my same situation needed to see to be able to recognize that they weren't alone. I think this is often a conversation that is not shared, even within their families. There's a lot of shame and guilt that can surround a decision like this or a situation like this. So I knew that making a film like this in that political climate would be very difficult. But I just hope that people would see this as a film that humanized an experience that's so often politicized. It doesn't always happen that way, but we are still trying very hard to create a narrative around the film that shows that this is an emotional experience. It is not intellectual experience. This is something that is meant to reflect loss, grief. I think it's an universal emotion that even if this isn't your situation, I think all of us at some point in our lives have experienced kind of your expected path taking a turn. So while, I can't fight the political firestorm that is. I try our best to have conversations around it, and bringing in Planned Parenthood has been incredibly helpful for that as well, because it just broadens the conversation. But yeah, we're trying as much as we can.
And that's so important. That's what we need to do. And so it sounds so much to me like, you're talking about bringing in the humanity. It's a personal story, the authenticity, the mission that you're having. So we're making art, trying to have impact, trying to connect with people, but this is also a business. So you have to raise money for your film. You have to try to sell your film, position it. Would anyone want to speak about maybe some sort of obstacle that they have overcome, or something that they were navigating in that process of, again, whether it's raising money, convincing someone to come on board, in positioning the film, any obstacle that you've overcome?
Sure. Every day is an obstacle. I think that, one thing that I tell a lot of younger filmmakers is to have a day job, unless you're independently wealthy, of course. I think that for me, I am first and foremost an editor, so I've always been able to fall back on that. And when we come with on our slate, we look at each film individually, and we try not to like, okay, well, this film, this is a director for hire, and that can pay us while we raise money for here. I knew for Speak, everyone's like, oh, this is so commercial. You should just take it straight to Netflix. And I was like, we can't, because we had made these agreements. We had made these agreements to protect them and protect this vision. And then like again, these words. And not only we needed them to feel represented, but empowered. And once you get a network in there, there's some other voices that might, all of a sudden they're like, who's the bad guy? This is a competition film, and that's not what we were doing. So we made the decision to take a little longer, to go out, to like have, raise all the money independently. And then with the hope of coming to a place like Sundance and hopefully making a sale. But, we really had to, it's not ideal to do that, because every day you're like, oh, we're not going to shoot on Monday, and we're going to hit the telephones again. I get asked a lot the difference, between producing, editing, and directing. I'm like, directing, I'm all like basically just raising money. But yeah.
And so what were some of the topics, the individual topics that the teens were talking about in the film?
It's a very wide gamut.
Yeah, and all from different backgrounds too, from what
they're all different backgrounds, all different topics, all the way from ableism and like not looking at caretakers in a very, how would she put it? Not pitting caretakers. There's this idea of humiliation and the way we use it in culture, especially in cultures of people of color, and humiliate, like lunchbox shame around that. There's so much more eloquent than I am, you guys. It's unbelievable. What was some of the other ones? I should know this. Sam was this idea of, oh my God, this is day 4.
I know.
Bear with me right now.
Sorry.
This is like, I didn't, no, oh my God. I'm gonna stop.
You've already.
It's gonna come to you in 2 seconds.
Well, I'm also going through all their speeches from last year when I cast them. So I'm like, oh, what was like, yeah, Noah's suicide. Yes. Oh my gosh. That was one that we were really nervous about when we cast, actually. And the one line from that speech that I love the most is because he lost his mother to suicide, was this idea that, you've probably made an idea or like this opinion about me, my mother, and what she's decided to do and what I've decided to talk about today. And we were really nervous about casting that, obviously, because he was going to unpack so much along the way. But, for him to have that space and for us to hold that space to process what that loss, and it was the best thing that could have happened to him. So, I think that you have to be prepared for anything. But yeah, it was the very wide gamut.
Well, and it also sounds like that this could be healing for you and some of the subjects in your film as you're making the process, like within the process of storytelling, we're all kind of healing. I'm going to use the word fight, meaning passion. So Nadia, was there anything that you fought for I'm sure there was a ton. So let me say, what is one of the things that you fought for because you were like, this is something that this is a boundary that I'm not crossing, that I wanted to, that it was important for maintaining your vision, your voice for the heart of the story.
Good question. I've got rose tinted goggles on now, so everything was glorious. There was no.
That is awesome.
No,
No.
I think so much. Even without wanting to give a spoiler here, just even the ending, without talking about what it is. I think that very early Sahela had quite a feminist ending. I'm going to call it a feminist ending, because I feel like I've said this a few times and I don't know whether it's too rude, but I think we're all used to the jerk off ending, which is how we've been. It's very sort of masculine ending of, yes, I think I've made my point. Whereas I think a feminist ending is one that is multifaceted and isn't something you can tie a bow around. And I was really interested in a friend of mine who's an incredible actor, director, writer, Michaela Coel, in I May Destroy You, has this, there's not one ending. And I was just like, I love that we stuck, and there was loads of people that wanted us to change the way we ended it, but we stuck to what we knew that we needed to do. So yeah,
that's great. And I remember, Lauren, you were talking a little bit about when we were having kind of a conversation, as everyone was introducing their film, kind of saying what it was about. I thought it'd be interesting kind of unpack that, because so often you're having to tell what the film is about in like a little moment. And with these stories that are so complex and nuanced, it's so hard to do that. It's like you feel like you're putting your movie in a box and it's not. But I think you were talking about like even coming up with your like log line. How many
Yes, so we had about 15 different log lines. So I think again, it's just navigating the political, minefield of language around the subject. And we had started out having the term unborn child in the log line, and nobody on my team really thought much about it. Even we had a social impact producer, didn't say anything. But then when she reached out to people who are really on the ground, working on the campaign for reproductive rights, they were like, no, like get rid of it. That really aligns you with far right rhetoric. And we were like, that is absolutely not what we want to do. So we removed it, and it's just, been a journey trying to find the right language around it. And then I had kind of narrowed it down to, okay, let's talk more about termination for medical reasons, which is also known as TFMR. But then when I met Karen and we had a conversation about it, it, she really brought to my attention how that by using that term, it could potentially create a hierarchy. So, in other words, making it seem as if termination for medical reasons is okay over other forms of abortion. And I think it's been interesting kind of navigating the two spaces, because being part of the community of TFMR, they really want the term to be put out there, to be recognized, to feel that they are a part of the abortion story. But then, of course, we don't want to ostracize anyone, and again, and not define it necessarily. Women should be able to have abortions for any reason, and so to define it could also be problematic. So I don't know if Karen, if you have anything you want to add to that.
Just that, in this moment of such misinformation and disinformation, the new administration that wants to shut down Planned Parenthood and access to abortion, language is everything. And it needs to be sensitive and accurate and authentic. And that's why I was happy to talk to Lauren about this, and nervous because I knew it was her story. But everyone deserves access to abortion for whatever reason. And I've worked on hundreds of films and television shows over decades, and it makes a huge difference even how you reach your audience with the language that you use. Woo!
I read something I don't know if I would say it's a full article, Jen. Your reaction when you were kind of in post and in editing, can you connect the dots as to you're putting a story out there for a reason, but you're also human. And we were making these movies because of our own emotional experience and what we want to say, and how it was fascinating to hear you elaborate on that.
Yeah, that was a rough one. I got asked a question about, that one point in making a film that goes into your memory. And for me, it was the day after the election. I turned off the TV the night before, and I would have thought that, like, okay, we've been here before, we're gonna be fine. I was not fine. And you know, one thing is I also am an editor on the film. And so I dug in. I dug in like I never dug into anything in my life before. And I took so much solace in just like these kids. I'm like, this is our secret weapon. I edited every day on this film, like 16 hours a day, like so much so my daughter would walk in and be like, hi, Mafaz, hi, Noah. And really, they were what got me through. I think it's like I say they were my therapy. It was that moment where I was like, oh, my career, like I'm so grateful, but this is exactly what I needed. I do still feel that after our screening, the kids, just in parks, or excuse me, Salt Lake had a like 3-minute standing ovation. It's like, okay, we're going to be okay. We're going to be all right. And I'm so grateful that this project came along, because I tend to work on some really heavy stuff, and I can't imagine trying to, straddle that right now with what we're experiencing, not only as women, but our, you know, yeah, country as a whole.
No, and I really appreciate all of you for sharing so personally. um as an actress, you have to really dive into this character and this role. And so how did you go about, um I guess you'd say, connecting with her, and like she was like saying, when it is such, can be heavy subject matter, as an actress, how did you go about in in the personalization with the story, but still maintaining a balance?
Yeah. So the story felt quite familiar to me. At least just growing up in the UK, I think we were surrounded by press regarding children who'd run away and been radicalized, run off to Syria. So that's something that had been in the back of my head, like I see this everywhere. There's people I know it's happened to. It feels very close to home. Um, and of course, it's a very sensitive and heavy topic matter. Um, it took a lot of, I think, discussion and research also. I think I wanted to do this as accurately as I could. So diving into the beautiful script that we had, um, and also, yeah, researching. So there's one huge case in the UK about a woman, a girl, Shamima Begum, who ran away at 15, and she was groomed and radicalized. So she's from East London, and that's actually close to where Saf was from. So that's also really like close to home for her. Um, and she ran off to Syria with a couple other girls, and this was like a huge case in the UK. I don't think that people in the US are really familiar with it, but it's still a huge press story in the UK, because there's been this huge debate about whether or not she deserves her British citizenship back, because it was stripped away from her. Um, but yeah, to go back to the research, she actually has this interview series that she did on BBC Sounds called I'm Not a Monster. And I kind of listened to that, really like tried to get into the headspace for the character, not to play her, because it's not, it's a fictional story. It's not based on anyone particular, but still I wanted it to be accurate and to represent a young person's mindset who'd been through that. So it was really interesting to, yeah, hear her mindset. And yeah, it goes back to, I think Nadia mentioned before, like what we really wanted to show in this film was like young people and the rash decisions they make, because she was 14, 15 at the time, I believe, and kind of just bringing back the focus that these were children who made these decisions, and we don't always make intelligent decisions when we're that age. And a lot of questions have been asked about, oh, why did the young people, it's never really phrased as children because they're black and brown, you know. But it's, yeah, it's
And it's you know, talking about the friendship, and you brought that up too, like even like the love, like the first love of friendship. I I've had two films at Sundance, and one of them, the film was called Never Going Back. It was A24 picked it up, and we really talked about, it was about female friendship, and it was a complex story, but at its heart, the female friendship. And so I'm sure that's like what you were saying, how you were exploring this film, and then you were talking about, like, that's how you were kind of talking about it. Have you had any, I'm not gonna say pushback, but it's just like in terms of the framing of the film, because like you're saying, it is, I loved how you said that, and I didn't know if that's something that you were like staunchly like, this is how I'm positioning the film, and if there's been people saying that you should say it's this, or
Yeah, I mean, I wish we never had to do a log line or a synopsis. I wish, as an artist, everyone would come with an open mind. But we've got to get people to water. And I completely understand, the way we process the world and the politics that's personal to us through making art. And we know the thing is, it's really hard because the most articulate you can be is through the work, but you need a chance for people to come and see the work, right? So it's really, it's tough. And I always think, be it my background's theatre, I don't, art is therapeutic, but I'm also very conscious. Sorry, I'm sort of meandering back to the question you were asking about it.
No, that's great.
I'm very, very, we've got to be really careful. We're opening up, like you were alluding to, real life people, I don't want to open up actors and never put them back together again. And I think there's a social responsibility when you're doing documentary, but also when you're making film that is so close to the bone, but you want to do it authentically and well. So you have to protect each other. And, there's just like really silly old-fashioned things like theatre games, like warming up at 3:00 in the morning with my silly exercises. We were laughing about that. There's a discipline to it because we know what happens if you don't do that. We know about addictions of actors and drinking and sex and all of that. That is because you open people up and you don't put them back together again. And I think there is a huge responsibility, especially when working with young people. That people aren't fodder. And but there's a way of creating resilience in process. Yeah. But I can't remember.
So, on a positive note, we're
It's all positive.
Yeah, it is all positive. But words like obstacles or navigating, that kind of seems to have like a not negative connotation, but it's like, but we're all here because we made the film, or you started the production company, and you were in the film. And so, what would you say is, either the person that believed in you, or the thing that changed, the thing that got the project going, or like, because we all need allies, we need advocates, in order to make these type of films. So let's shed light on something that's like the positive thing of like what moved the needle forward for like your process or your project. Any of you or all of you. Mm-hmm.
That's right. So my film is very specific in that everything is done practically. There's no VFX, there's no green screen, and I come from the art world, so sometimes my writing or my visual language is not always so traditional. So in trying to find a producer, it was sometimes difficult to have them trust that I could execute my vision, or to even understand what I was trying to do. And I have to say that when I met Elena, or when I stalked her and made her be my producer, she and Hoffa, her partner at Driven Equation, were so incredibly supportive. They trust my vision. They helped me bring together a team that truly believed in what I was trying to do. We had the most incredible production designer who built 50 flats by himself, almost killed himself before we forced him to have some support. But it really, I think having that relationship is so vital. And Elena and I always say that it's like, pre-production is like dating and production is like a marriage. And you need to be able to support each other, have respect for each other. She's not only there to hold me up and support me, but I'm also there to make sure that she's okay. The mental health of everybody on the on the team is so important. And but I just want to say thank you for all of your support and love. And yeah.
Well, what just struck me, that's so special. We talk about how this business is all about relationships. We've been talking about trust, and it's so true. And and obviously we're talking about breaking through the lens, supported brides, and breaking through the lens and Simbelle are joining forces to put this, panel together. I am directing my first feature. I've produced for years, and now I'm directing my first feature. And thank you. And the person that she just mentioned that was her producer, Elena, is my producer on my feature. And what's amazing is she was my producing mentee. So I got a grant, and part of the grant was to give back, and you had to mentor a producer for a year. And I was speaking to the fellows at Sundance. Elena is a producing fellow. And so when I was talking to the fellows, it was really important for me to pick a Latina producer, and we hit it off and started working together. And now she's producing my feature. And so it does show you that you have to find the people that believe in you. You have to give back, and then you get stuff, and you get the rewards. And so the synergy here is really what I think can what makes a difference. And so often when we talk about relationship building, people think about it as networking. And it's not about collecting names or email addresses. And it's not about like who's up here that can help me. It's like thinking about who's sitting next to me and what are storytellers next to me that we can help grow
We
together.
were talking about it yesterday, that even coming to Sundance, it's quality over quantity. Like, you can meet 100 people here and never talk to any of them again, or you can meet 3 people, form incredible relationships, and continue to collaborate. So, I think it's really important to look for those people that you feel are aligned with you.
Yeah.
And can support your vision, and you the same for them.
And so Nadia and or Jen, anyone that was either pivotal in your journey, and that could be with this particular film or just as a storyteller or artist.
God, that's a big question.
I know. And so it's like just picking one, because I know there's so many.
I think I just
trying to, I want to try to like give kind of some sort of practical information, but then also so many people don't know where to go. Like, they want to make their first short, they want to make their first feature, and like, what do I do? What's my next step? And especially with,
I don't want to, I'm the worst person for practical advice, but I do want to, I do want to say, obviously I want to again shout out our producer, because she infected everybody, Nikki Bentham, with the enthusiasm for this story. But I also want to give like hope to anyone who's trying to tell their story. If your story is burning to be told, I believe you will do it, because this story was bigger than us. We could all feel it, and it was going to come through. It was going to come through even at times where we thought, God, are we going to get the money? Are people going to get this? Is this too much of a hot topic? Why would, and there was a moment where I'd, and I, first time a film director, and I'd made this because of COVID and the theaters were closed. I'd made this verbatim drama based on testimonials of people on the front line in COVID. And from that 5-day shoot, no money, no time, no light, nothing. We just made this thing. And and someone at the BFI noticed it, and they said, look, you've got a long history of working in theatre, you know actors, this is a really beautiful piece, you know, we really are interested in women, we're interested in global majority stories. And I went, yeah, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but and I said, if not now, when?
Right.
Like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for us to do before we're let in? Because we're here.
Right. Right.
So it was a moment where I wasn't politely British. I just thought, sod this.
Yep.
And it was a tipping point, I feel. Suddenly I've remembered. But I do feel if your story is burning, it will come forth.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's amazing. We're going to open up to the audience, but before we do, I would love to make a shout out to a special filmmaker who's here, Sarah Kaki. She has a documentary film, also in competition in the World Documentary Competition, Cutting Through Rocks. And Sarah, just to lead us into the Q&A that with everyone, is there something you would want to share of maybe something that you learned along the way, or if you would want to give maybe advice to filmmakers or something to share with the process again of navigating, you can tell what your story is about, navigating, this process, staying true to your heart, maintaining your vision with sensitive subject matter.
Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Sarah Kaki, and I'm a director, producer, editor of Cutting Through Rocks, a documentary that will have its world premiere tomorrow at the Egyptian at noon. So I was lucky to have the co-director, co-producer, and cinematographer, Mohammad Reza Aini, to walk to this very particular part of the earth, which is the northwest of Iran. It's in a very remote village. It's a very mountainous village, but it's very, very patriarchal. And it's very common for women to get married at a very young age and also stop education. So I was in the US. I'm born and raised in Iran, but I I immigrated to the US in a very young age. So many years later, I was working as an editor in Brooklyn, and at some point, I felt that I really want to tell a story of a strong woman who stands against injustice in my home country. The people who decided to stay even if it's in their own little village. And we came across, with Mohammad Reza, we came across the story of a woman whose name is also Sarah Shahverdi, who had been a midwife in her village, and she had delivered 400 kids. And she is the only female motorcycle rider in her village. And the story started when she said she wanted to run for a council seat. And so with her, with the kids that she had delivered, there are now 18-year-old first-time voters. And so she was able to win the election. And with that came the power to advocate for women and girls, and really starting to teach the young girls how to ride a motorcycle. And of course, with that came some backlash, but the impact. So this film took 7 years for us to make. So throughout the 7-year journey, we witnessed the impact that Sarah had for her village and her community. And we're so proud of her and so happy to be able to showcase her story here at Sundance. And the advice, I don't really want to give advice, but I just want to say that women invisibility is really something that we face on a universal level. And I think we just have to fight through it. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you to be here and to do that, and I think, yeah, so I think.
Yeah, because there's not like necessarily practical advice. It's just the perseverance that
Yeah,
you believe in the
perseverance,
project
exactly.
and everybody. That's
And
amazing.
that is the message of our film, the perseverance and hope. And no matter how difficult, how long the journey is, or how mountainous the rock of struggles are, you can chip it away and create that path. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Would anybody like to ask a question to one of our esteemed panelists?
Hi, my name is Kaya Sokola, and I actually wanted to share something on the subject of film ethics and impact. I started working or being in theater when I was a very young kid. I came to New York when I was 16, and I had the unfortunate experience of meeting Harvey Weinstein and being sexually assaulted by him. After that, I decided that film is not for me, and I cannot be an actress. Studied psychology, and I practiced psychology for 14 years back in Poland. And right now, I'm here at Sundance for the first time because I have a production company, and I combine my love for film and psychology. And here's the question. um, one of the films that we're working on is about child protection services and foster care. Another one is about sexual assault, and these are very heavy subjects. So my question to you is like, what are the biggest obstacles that you have to go through in trying to produce a movie like this? And second is just a, a notice to producers up here if anyone want to co-produce or talk to me about this out here. Thank you.
I can take that one. First of all, yeah, very heavy topics. The big thing I'm hearing up here is this idea of community, finding your tribe, finding people that speak the same language as you. That pertains to when you're making films about traumatic situations. For me, I made a 3-part series called Unveiled for HBO, and it was really important that we started from the very beginning talking about the trauma that we were going to uncover along the way. We did really intensive trauma training with the crew through the Dart Center. I can speak to more of the practical side of things. I love the Dart Center. Bruce Shapiro, huge shout out. It was imperative for our team to understand and look for signs, not only within the crew, but with our participants to understand. When I talk about having people who speak the same language, the ladies at HBO, Sarah Rodriguez in particular, is one of those ladies. I went to her with a budget that included mental health therapy through the whole thing, shooting interviews both ways, anonymously, not anonymously, so they could make the decision along the way when they had the opportunity to remove themselves from the film if they needed to. We also implemented this idea of a consent calendar. There's an amazing organization called Peace is Loud that has put a lot of these case studies that a lot of us have done and really broken it down into accessible points of how to deal with participants who are reliving trauma in your films and how you deal with that, not only with your participants, but with your crew as well. The idea of the consent calendar is to hold us accountable every step of the way, being like, this is the date where I lose my power. This is the date where I lose my power, whether that's in editing, marketing, distribution, and making sure that those lines of communications are constantly staying open. We were following a trial. We were going through multi-generational abuse through an organization that these women were reliving. We talked, each of them had, there's no one size fits all, right? Each of them had different triggers. 3 months of interviews before we even brought a camera into the room. That was also very, very important. So I think there's a lot of, DOG is also an organization that I would look up, and that framework is brilliant. So there are a lot of organizations that are doing this work and doing this work really, really well. I think it's really helpful to find productions that had a really big impact where the participants speak out. It's so great to have you on this panel. I didn't do any panels without my participants because they were really able to speak to the experience and how they were able to make it through, because I will never, even spending 5 years with them, never truly understand what they were going through throughout that process. So I think it's really just conversation and finding people, who've lived it.
Oh, over there.
You guys have kind of all spoken to this a little bit, but how do you guys walk the line of having like the rhetoric and the language around your topic be accessible for both sides or as many people as possible, while also staying authentic to like your own visions and what you actually want, even if it's challenging? And like, how do you do that without causing harm?
Gosh.
Um, that's a really good question. I don't know why I've picked up my microphone. I'm still sort of there because I do a lot of documentary theatre, and ethics and morals are really important, and you have to make your own frameworks of that. And often I think whether it's participants in documentary or whether it's actors, that there's got to be a structured way of dealing with it, whether it's a therapy or a contract. And often what is the contract, what do they get back out of the process, and what happens beyond the end. But sorry, your question. Yes, please. Sorry, I've got ADHD.
I forget things all the time too. Okay, so how do you walk the line of having like the rhetoric and the language around your topic or logline or pitch be accessible to both sides or a variety of people, while also being authentic to what you want and like challenging in a way that doesn't cause harm?
I think specificity is key. I think the more specific you are and truthful in your story, then somehow that gives you a universal language. And it's, but I think what I'm realizing, and I think you touched on hope, and I've been sort of trying to speak about it a lot this week. It's about hope being a very radical thing. And I am no longer interested, if I ever was, in art that doesn't have space for hope and redemption. And I think that's the way we protect each other, is leaving space for the possibility of change. I'm going to say the word revolution. And so I'm not interested in pain porn, poverty porn. So I think you can still make hard hitting, unapologetic art, documentary, all of that. But you just need to have space for redemption, and you don't always have to show everything. We know, we've lived lives, we've got imagination. You don't have to show everything to show everything. Do you see what I mean? I don't need to see another woman being cut up, but I can talk about it. Okay.
That's such a beautiful sentiment to end on. But I'd love to just quickly introduce the founder of Breaking Through the Lens, Daphne Schmann.
So such a great comment to end on this idea of hope and our tribe. As Jennifer said, we are just so fortunate and lucky to have also Simbelle here joining the tribe and making this event possible. They're a brand new nonprofit production company. But I think what really is so incredible about Simbelle is that they're active filmmakers and they're action driven, just as we are at Breaking Through the Lens. BTTL was born 7 years ago at Cannes from the heart, from filmmakers. I'm a director myself, and it was really born out of this desire to really take action in our industry. We love to host conversation and to have community where we can find our tribe, but it's also about taking action and making meaningful connections. And because of that, we named our first grant an action grant, 10,000 euros that went towards a film in development or a documentary that had begun production. And it was meant to help the project take action in a certain area. As we all know, development can be really challenging. Everyone's got to jump in at once. And sometimes you really need that support to take action. Brides and Nadia and the incredible team were our winner last year. And what a project to kick it off. And they joined the jury for this year, which was incredibly competitive. We had submissions from over 50 countries. Also joining the jury, we had world-renowned actress Diane Kruger, former SVP of Global Acquisitions and Production at Universal Pictures, Jasper Van Heck, CEO of Pinky Promise, Jessamine Burgum, Emmy-nominated and WGA-winning writer-producer April Shee, president at New Horizon Pictures, Alexa Jago, and we had the incredible support of Campari and the head of global marketing, Yulka Villa. Campari actually backed our grant, which was just incredible. And then Nadia and Nikki also joining the jury. So I'm so proud today for the first time to announce our 5 finalists, and then I will also be playing a clip from the winner. But I did not envy the work of the jury, because the projects were just incredible, which really shows the hunger and the need for an initiative and for grants like this. The 5 finalists span a remarkable 6 different production countries, ranging from US, we had 2 US projects. One was a US documentary by director Emily Thomas called The Dead Zone, which explores urgent reforms to a failing pre-trial system.
Hi, my name is...
Oh. That's coming to work. Director Olivia Peace's film In Case of Apocalypse reimagines a queer, techno-infused creation myth in Detroit during a psychedelic apocalypse. We have Mexican director Damiana Acuña's incredible feature Lux Noctis, which presents a dialogue-free, haunting drama of defiance in a matriarchal community bound by brutal rituals. I think we might have the producer, Valerie, here, Valerie Steinberg. Finally, director Isabel Mekataf's May You Outlive Us, which is a collaboration between Lebanon, France, and Belgium, which portrays the resilience and hope of 4 women navigating life amidst Beirut's turmoil. Together, these projects are incredibly diverse, passionate, and you find more about them on our website. And our new applications for next year will be opening at the Cannes Film Festival this May, so I hope you'll all be there. But it is my great pleasure to now introduce our winning film, which is a UK documentary called Les Hijabeuses, co-directed and produced by Aaron Sader and Rita Baghdadi, who we have here with us, and with Camilla Hall as executive producer. It's an unbelievable project. I'm going to let the director speak for herself. We have a clip here.
Hi, my name is Erin Sader. I am recording this from London. Our film, along with Rita Baghdadi, is a coming-of-age story about Les Hijabeuses, a collective of young, first-generation French Muslim women who came together to sue the French Federation of Football for the right to be able to play while wearing their hijabs on the field. When they lost that case, they escalated it to the European Court of Human Rights, and now they are one of just 2% of cases to be accepted. I hope you enjoy.
Well, that's it. Just wanted to thank you all so much for being here. There is going to be a cocktail hour just across the hall, I believe. So please come meet us, speak to us. We hope to open up our tribe so that we can help you all. And we're just looking forward to meeting and carrying on the conversation. But thank you all so much. And thank you to our wonderful panelists for being here.